Namaste, hello and welcome back to another video on Hamsavahini Vajraasthra. I'm Awhona. Today's video is going to be about my pile of possibilities for the Historical Fiction Readathon, which will be happening all along May. And this year it has been created and hosted by Katie from Books and Things. I will post a link to her announcement video in the description box below, as well as leave it in the overhead cards above for all of you to cross-check. Also, if you did not already know, Katie will be featured in the prestigious Bath Festival this year, which will be held in UK, of course. And Bath Festival, as you all know, is a celebration of music and books, and you will find Katie in the new talents section. So I will leave a link to the festival as well as the place where you will find Katie in the description box below, should you be in the UK and should you also want to be part of the festival as well. So I will now proceed with the books that I will be tentatively reading for the Historical Fiction Readathon, a few of which I have already started. So do please join me further in this video. So now let's come down to the prompts that we have for this particular readathon. Now Katie has created 7 prompts for us, and I do have them all in front of me, so I'll be referring to that from here on. So the first prompt is to read a work of historical fiction set in the country you're from. Now I'm from India, so I have chosen a book called Empire by Devi Yashodharan, and the historical period it relates to is the Chola Kingdom reign in South Indian history from 600 BCE to 300 CEE, and I'm sorry, CE, not CEE, and it is all about the fact that there is a foreigner who is a captive. She's raised as a captive in South India, and she becomes the empire's bodyguard because she's absolutely a skilled warrior. So it says that it is the 11th century. He is India's mightiest king. She is his bodyguard. Empire by Devi Yashodharan. Now, from the book, or the basic synopsis at the back, it reads as: a woman of courage with dagger and bow will do countless deeds, dark and light, right and low. Her armor dark, her armor gold, around her red rivers will flow. An Indian empire at the peak of its power, a great port heaped with spices, silks, jewelry, perfumes, weapons. Everyone wants a share of the riches of Nagapattinam. When a Greek pirate ship sails in to loot the wealth of the Cholas, it is brutally defeated by the navy and forced to pay a compensation, a payment that includes a 12-year-old girl, Artemis. Artemis grows up to be a skilled warrior, a great asset to the Cholas, but she is a foreigner among her captors, even though the emperor trusts her to guard his person. Anantha, the man who took her as captive, the supreme commander of the empire's army, is a wily strategist. But he no longer has the stomach for war. The emperor's ambitions weary him. Rajendra Chola has conquered Lanka. Now he wants to rule the Indian Ocean. The future is set a dangerous journey across the seas and a bloody, brutal war they cannot survive undamaged. So this is a very interesting plot. In fact, I'm already midway through this book. It's very, very interesting, and that's the first book that I'll be reading. So now let's come down to the second prompt, which is to read a work of historical fiction set in a different country to the one you're from. Now, I do have two possibilities for this. One of them is called A Nurse's Duty by Maggie Hope, and this is set in World War I. Now, I have mentioned about this book in length in one of my videos. I'll leave a link to this to that particular video in the description box below, and also append it in the overhead cards above. When you go to that video, please scroll down in the description box, wherein you will find the timestamp in which I have spoken about this particular book in length. So you can definitely check on that should you be interested. The other book that I have kept in reserve, which I am quite interested in reading, is called The Shogun's Queen by Leslie Downer, and the historical period it is set in is 1853 Japan. So this is the first in the series. If you have read about Leslie Downer, it's not a new publication, of course. So from the back it reads as, the year is 1853 and Japan teeters on the brink of turmoil. Growing up among the samurai of the Satsuma clan, the beautiful, headstrong Okatsu has, like all the clanswomen, been encouraged to be bold, taught to wield the halberd and to ride a horse. But then the black ships appear, bristling with cannon and manned by strangers who to Japanese eyes are barbarians. Their arrival threatens Japan's very existence and turns Okatsu's world upside down. For her feudal lord has chosen her for a very special role. She has been given a new name, Princess Atsu, and a new destiny to save the realm. Her journey takes her to Edo Castle, a place so secret that it cannot be marked on any map. And there, in the woman's palace, a place where only one man may enter, she seems doomed to live out her days. But behind the palace's immaculate facade, amid rumors of murders and whispers of ghosts, Atsu must unearth one last secret, the secret of the man whose fate is, it seems, irrevocably linked to hers, the shogun himself. So this is pretty long, but it's very interesting. So in case if I cannot finish it for this particular readathon, I will continue it next month, but this is the next book that I plan on reading. Now, the third prompt is to read a work of historical fiction set in your favorite historical time period to read about. So the book that I've chosen for this particular prompt is called Ashoka, a Sutra by Irwin Allen Seeley, and the historical period that it is set in is 3rd century BC. And as you know, Ashoka was one of the most famous emperors of India, and the massacre he made, and then he finally converted to Buddhism because he was very deeply and profoundly influenced by Buddhism. So from the summary of the book, it reads as, Ashoka the Great ruled the Indian subcontinent in the 3rd century BC and was pivotal in the spread of Buddhism from India to other parts of Asia. His life as an emperor was not always led by non-violence. History has it that he waged one of the biggest and the deadliest wars ever fought, and the grief he experienced at the sight of the dead and the dying on the battlefield made him turn to Buddhism and take a vow of ahimsa. Who was this man, and who was this king? Where were his demons, and what gave him strength? Ashoka, a Sutra, addresses some of the questions, epic in scope and Shakespearean in drama. This historical novel is an imaginative reconstruction of that enigmatic and brilliant ruler, transporting the reader to the era of the Mauryan dynasty with an atmospheric vividness and insight. With his full-bodied prose and his trademark whimsy, Seeley entertains and instructs, leaving the reader with a new understanding of the king and creating along the way a new persona, indeed a new avatar of Ashoka. So that's one book that I'm looking forward to read. Now, there is also another book which I did find and which I am reading for another read-along, and that is A Nurse's Courage by Maggie Holt, and I have spoken about it in length in one of my videos, so I'll leave a link to that video again in the overhead cards above, so you can just scroll down in the description and you'll find the relevant timestamps in case if you're interested in knowing about it. And this is also set in World War I. Now, the next prompt is to read a work of historical time fiction, read a work of historical fiction set in a time period you're less familiar with. So the book that I've chosen is from the Tudor age, which is Three Sisters, Three Queens by Philippa Gregory. Now, this is one of the books that I had my eyes on for quite some time, but I finally managed to acquire it. It's quite a thick book, so there is a possibility that I may not be able to complete this, but I will certainly give it a try. And from the back it reads as, there is only one bond that I trust between a woman and her sisters. We never take our eyes off each other in love and in rivalry. We always think of each other. When Catherine of Aragon is brought to the Tudor court as a young bride, the oldest Princess Margaret takes her measure. With one look, each knows the other for a rival and ally upon destined with Margaret's younger sister Mary to a sisterhood unique in all the world. The three sisters will become the queens of England, Scotland and France. United by family loyalties and affections, the three queens find themselves set against each other. Catherine commands an army against Margaret and kills her husband, James IV of Scotland, but Margaret's boy becomes heir to the Tudor throne when Catherine loses a son. Mary steals the widowed Margaret's proposed husband, but when Mary is widowed, it is her secret marriage for love that is the envy of the other. As they experience betrayals, dangers, loss and passion, the three sisters find that the only constant in their perilous life is their special bonds, more powerful than any man, even a king. So this is one historical age that I am not too sure about, so which is why I picked up this book. So that is one of the books that I'll be reading. Now there's another book which I did find very interesting and which I will be reading for another read along, and I have spoken in length about this. It's a very short book, so I will be definitely completing this. So it's called The Madwoman's Ball by Victoria Mars, and I will leave a link to the video in which I have spoken in length about this particular book in the description box below, as well as in the overhead cards above for all of you to cross check. So those are the books that I'm reading for this particular prompt. Now, our next prompt is to read a work of historical fiction about a real historical figure. So for this, I have chosen to read Fatal Decision, Edith Cavell, World War I Nurse, which has been written by Terry Arthur. Now, Terry Arthur is a nurse, and I am reading this for one of my read-alongs, and I will leave a link to that particular video in which I have spoken in length about this book in the description box below, as well as append the card in the overhead, append a link in the overhead card above for all of you to cross check. So that will be the next book that I'll be reading for this particular prompt. Now, our next prompt is to read a work of historical fiction with a speculative element. So for this, I have chosen a historical fantasy which is set in medieval Japan, and it's feudal Japan, and the exact dates are 1185 to 1603 CE, and this is called Across the Nightingale Floor by Leon Hearn, and this is the first in the series. And from the jacket of the book, it reads as, it is Black-walled fortress at Inoyama, the murderous warlord Ida Sadamu surveys his famous Nightingale Floor. Constructed with exquisite skill, it sings at the tread of each human foot. No assassin can cross it unheard. Brought up in a remote mountain village among the hidden, a reclusive and spiritual people, young Takeo knows only the ways of peace, but unknown to himself, he possesses the supernatural skills of the tribe, preternatural hearing, the ability to be in town places at once, invisibility, when his life is saved with the mysterious Lord Otori Shigeru. Takeo begins a journey that will lead him to his hidden destiny within the walls of Inoyama. It is a journey of revenge and treachery, honor and loyalty and beauty and magic, and the overwhelming passion of love. So this is a very interesting plot, and it's got magical elements in it as well. So that's the next book that I'll be reading. Now, our last prompt is to read a classic work of historical fiction. So for this, I have chosen to read a work, or a very famous work, which is set in Paris between 1738 to 1767. It is based on a real-life criminal, and it is called Perfume, the Story of a Murderer. And there's a movie based on this as well, as all of you know, by Patrick Suskind. And I really don't want to talk much about this particular book, because everybody knows the story of the murderer and how he's obsessed with making perfumes, and the way in which he skins off beautiful women and trying to take the essence of that woman and convert it into perfume, and how he becomes a god when he discovers the 13th note, because there are 12 notes of the perfume which he has, and there's a 13th note. I believe this is what the basic bone structure of the story is, or the basic plot of the story is, but we'll see. This will be the first time that I will be actually reading this. I have watched the movie several times, but yes, that's the book that I'll be reading for the classic historical fiction. So those are the few books that I plan on reading. Do let me know what you think about them, and in case if you have read them before, and or if you would like to read them along with me, and in case if you are participating in the Historical Fiction Readathon. And that's all I have for you today. I will be back next week with another video. So till then, take care, have a good reading week ahead, and namaste.